Hi guys, welcome to my watercolour channel. I'm Karen Rice. This tutorial is just to give you an example of the type of tutorials that are available on my Patreon and YouTube memberships. As you can see, they are longer and more informative than the public YouTube tutorials. You also get access to exclusive content and downloadable outline sketches. These are exclusively available on the Patreon membership. If you have any questions about the memberships, please put them in the comments section below. I hope you enjoy this extended tutorial. Let's get started. It's going to be a fun, quick painting. It's just like experimenting. So I've already used masking fluid and I've spattered it onto my painting, and I'm using Arches rough watercolor paper, and it's 9x12, and I put my framing tape around the edge, and I've used PBO gum masking fluid, but any masking fluid will do, and I spattered it with my palette knife by literally putting it on there and just flicking it like that. You can see some of it's quite splattered. I've spattered the masking fluid where I saw most of the light, so that when I rub it off afterwards, I've still got some lovely light, but I want to try and keep these areas really, really light. I'm using Paynes grey and cadmium yellow light. So here's my Paynes grey, and I'm going to squeeze out the yellow, and I'll put it the opposite end down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw very simple lines. So the first line you want is kind of the bottom of the trees and the bottom where the fence, where the gate is. There's just a little line here. I'm using it really dark. I'd like you to use this a lot lighter. If you want to rub out afterwards, it's much more difficult. But for the purposes of the video, I want to make it nice, this pencil, nice and strong for you so that you can see what I'm doing. So here we are, I've got the bushes here, there's something here, I think that's a fence there, then you've got this gate here, it's quite a spindly gate, a lot of light going through that gate, and then just above it you've got some trees in the distance, and you've got a lovely, what I love here is a bank of light here, and I'm going to put these trees in the distance, and then you've got this lovely bit here where there's another light bit here. It's lovely, isn't it, this photograph, all the different shapes you get. Really nice. And then they're literally, I mean, it's an amazing, it's kind of like a circle, and I'm going to draw a circle because it's all foliage around there, but I'm just going to draw this circle like that. So you've got all of this going on. There's lots and lots of texture, and you know how much I love texture. So I'm just going to now draw as well the way the sort of, there's lots of cast shadows and things here as well, so I'm just going to have all of that in here as well. There's a lovely hedgerow here, so there's lots going on. So there, got that there, nicely done. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some colour. So I'm going to mix up some the Paynes grey on its own. Okay, give that a rinse, and then I'm going to mix up some yellow and add a bit of Paynes grey to that as well. Use a big brush, doesn't matter what sort of brush, I just want you to use a big brush, and I want you just to start wetting all the sort of darker areas here and there. I want you to keep the light and just paint the darks. Fun to do this. Start off with some of the yellow, and I'm just going to paint some yellow here and there where it's very sort of yellowy green grasses, just popping that in there like so. Really fully loading the brush. This is experimental, so don't be too hard on yourself with all this, just have fun. Now what I'm doing now is I'm just dropping in this limey green paint here and there, just really sort of dropping that in. Just let the paint do its thing, just enjoy it. Get a little bit more. I just wanted to go just for this very, very simple colour palette and just have fun with it. So just really just dripping. I'm using the tip of the brush and just dripping in this paint. Gorgeous, so nice. It's kind of a bit like art therapy really, this sort of painting. That paint is, Jackson's paint is delicious. It's really creamy, and you get lots there, lots of pigment there, so it's really lovely. It's very strong, you can see there. So I'm going to start putting in some of the darker shades now. Literally tip of the brush going in with that Paynes grey, just down here, a little bit down here as well. Don't be afraid, just go for it. So this is quite creamy in some areas here as well. Ooh, look at that, how lovely. So just letting that all sort of do its thing. Watch the paint do some magic. Get even some more water in there and really load my brush as I go up that tree like that. Oh, it's wonderful. And just really let it sort of all blend and do its exciting things. It's wonderful. Give that a little tilt. Whoops. Oh, that really was a behind the scenes disaster. I do hope that gave everyone a little giggle. That doesn't happen very often. But yes, everything went fine. So I just want to, I'm going to use the end of my brush as well, just to kind of get things going as well. It's really just sort of really enjoy it, just sort of all the different textures, just using those two colours. But I want the light here and I've lost it a little bit, so I'm just getting it back now with my tissue. Woo, that's better. That's actually quite a nice colour. So I'm going to do the same thing here and just get my light back, and it stops that paint from running down and actually creates a little bit of texture there. Just going to get a little bit more of that lighter colour and just bring that down here as well, just pure yellow, and just bring that down into here. So I've got some fresh water, and because it's so wet I can really work into this for a while. So I'm just going to just work around it with a twig still. Isn't that lovely? It's just sort of just running down there, so that can do some really nice things, and maybe just swirl it in there as well. Just swirl that around here and there, and then maybe get the brush. It's the size 14 black velvet brush, very handy brush, and I'm just going to soften that there, just here and there, wetting my brush and then softening away again around here, because it's so light here, isn't it? So I just want to graduate that light so it's sort of soft and it's diffused as it goes into there, that sort of sun. I'm going to do the same thing around here because it is softer there as well. So you've got these lovely darks and lights, just same technique, just putting that there like that. I need just to collect that up a little bit, that puddle there. It's quite nice, this tree, the little bit of the light on the tree there. It's really getting that feeling of light there already. Just going to push that up there like that. I want to let that sort of just come down here like that and soften, so let that light travel. Just going to put a little bit of salt just here and there, not too many places, a little bit in the foreground, just here and there, a little bit around the edge of this gate here, and just a little bit around the tree, just where there's a bit of texture there. I don't want to go too mad with the salt, and I'm using sea salt and I'm putting it on damp here. And just before I finish, I just wanted to put another sort of darker green just over here, even darker actually, really dark green just here and here, and a little bit coming up into the branch here, so there's a real contrast, and you can drop that in like that, just drop that in, keeping those highlights as well, keeping those little dappled lights of coming through the trees, which is lovely. I'm just going to put, just dripping my brush around here as well, collecting that paint. I'm just going to put it up here as well. So this is real damp into damp now, lovely damp into damp work. Really what's helping me is the fact the paper is damp and it's sort of spreading, and it's giving me some lovely textured effect, so it's really useful, lovely technique. You can put a little bit of that over here as well. I'm really looking at the photograph, I'm half closing my eyes as well, so I get these darks and mid-tones. And in painting, you can't paint every blade of grass, you can't paint every leaf on the tree, but you can give that impression of the light and the dark. And what's lovely about this is that you're just using two colours, so it takes away all that worry about colour mixing, just to learn those techniques first and the way it behaves, so you take away that worry of colour mixing. I'm just trying to keep that as random and pop, because you've got that lovely branch coming over here, and I'm making that really dark as well in places, cutting into this lighter tree here. And you've got a lovely, I'm using the paint now, it's practically straight from the tube, because I really want to create some dark, because it's so wet it doesn't look like it's straight from the tube, but it's practically thick and dark. And I want to create this contrast here, over here, just in that bit in the distance there, because what I'm going to do now is just paint this tree, which is silhouetted, and I'm just going to paint a little bit of dark just down the centre of it, so it looks like the sun's behind it. I can't really see that in the photograph so much, but I just want to give that impression of the tree, of the light behind the tree. And I'm just going to put a little bit more darks here, and possibly more of a mid-green here, not so dark, using the tip of this size 4 round brush, so you can use any sort of brush you like, you know, small brush that carries lots of paint really, otherwise you're back and forth, so it's quite nice to do. I really wanted to create this light coming through the trees here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my twig, and I'm just going to create some of the texture and all the foliage coming through there, through those trees there. I'm in my element now, because this is the sort of thing I love. I just love textures and things like that, just things that just create such lovely marks. I'm just going to wet my brush now, and I'm going to pull a little bit of that way, so it kind of looks like sort of you've got it coming that way as well, the sort of shadows, cast shadows made there. I'm going to use a little bit of the tissue again, or the kitchen towel, and just lift off, because it's my dark is bleeding into the light there, and I've got to rescue it. So there we are, just getting that light back, and it's coming through here as well. So don't be afraid of getting that tissue out and just trying to win back your light. It's very important. Well, the most important thing really, the light. I think that's too dark here, so what I'm going to do is rinse my brush and try to get back some of the light here, and just wipe that away. So you've got your light coming back there. It's really important not to, the whole idea, the whole thing that attracted me about this picture was the light. So I really am trying to rescue that light there. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more salt again. I'm just going to put a little bit over here, a touch there, a little bit in there. I want to create that texture here and there. And with my spritzer bottle, just where it's a little bit sat up there, just give it a little spray, get it moving like that. Get it all moving. And you could even sort of give it a little spray in here and then just wipe off with some kitchen towel, just so you get it clean back again, that lovely light coming through there like that. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm hoping my salt is going to look fabulous, so keep your fingers crossed for me. I've given the painting a really good blow dry, and I'm just going to brush off the salt with some kitchen towel. I'm going to use a little bit of the yellow mixed with the Paynes grey, and I'm just putting that up against the tree here as well, just that pure yellow to really get that light in that area there. And then just dilute and pull that, use the larger brush, size 14, and just pull that through there like that, so that really gets that singing a little bit. Pull that through, and you've got a lovely dilute wash there. Just going to get a little bit more that yellow there, just to kind of put it through there, so you've really got that lovely strong colour. And I'm going to do the same here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my sponge. It's a natural sponge, and I'm going to wet it, wring all the water out, and I'm just going to mix up a really dark green. So that's using the Paynes grey and the yellow. So you've got a lovely dark green, and just put that on the sponge like that. Okay. And I'm just going to do a little bit of sponging, wet on dry, just to create a bit of lovely texture here and there. It creates a really nice little texture. I want to do a little bit less is more. I don't want to go too mad with that. In fact, just where it's a little bit wet there, which is quite nice, I'm just going to feed in a little bit of sponging in there, and just a little bit in there as well. So you've got this lovely soft background behind, and then this lovely sponging on top there. Might just get a little bit more of a limey greeny colour, and just put a little bit of that here and there. I love doing sponging. I just really like the effect it has. The only advice I will give you is you've just got to just control yourself and do a little bit of less is more. Don't get too carried away, because I feel this is a tad too dark just in places. I'm just pushing it back a little bit. I'm just going to put a few finishing touches in now. I'm going to put some branches in here and there. I'm using the size 4 brush, and I'm using the tip of it to paint in these branches with the Paynes grey paint. Just moving the brush along, really trying to take my time to get the effect of these beautiful branches going through the lovely foliage. But the other thing, equally, what you could do is get your twig, so you can get lovely thin marks. I find sometimes actually painting the tip of my twig is easier than actually dipping it in, unless you've got a little well of colour. But yeah, I'm just painting, drawing, not painting, I'm drawing these marks in here, which is great fun. And then you've got all this swirling. I'll use a little bit of green, but you've got all this lovely texture here and there, and the same over here. Really nice effects. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to soften that there like that, and then lift off a little bit to there. So those, we've got that lovely light coming on the tree there. We've just got these lovely branches. I fancy one to come across my light area there as well, maybe one coming across like that as well, really kind of making the most of that light. So what's happened here, it's quite strong and dark, that area there. It's almost too light, so I'm just going to get, I'm not going to use any paint, I'm just going to get a wet brush and just soften that a little bit, so it just pushes that back a bit. because this is kind of my focal point. So if it's very light here, it's going to take it away from my focal point. So it's little things like this, just making a few adjustments, and maybe just pinch a little bit of yellow just to soften that there as well, like that, so it kind of pushes that back. And I might just fill that corner up there as well with some dark, so it brings the light back in there. So I'm going to give it a quick blow dry. I'm going to take off the masking fluid. I'm going to use some of my framing tape. I'm going to use the sticky side, and I'm just going to rub. I've got it flush to the paper, and I'm just rubbing it. I've given my painting a good blow dry, so do please make sure you do that, because for two reasons. First reason is if your paint's wet, it's going to smudge and smear, and the second reason is that it could possibly tear your paper. So two good reasons to dry it thoroughly, and I would use a hairdryer or wait at least 2 hours for it to dry so you know it's fully dry. So I'm just pulling this off, and you can see it comes off nicely off the framing tape, and you don't have any mess either. So I'm just pulling that off there, and it's created a really nice effect. I'm just going to move that for 1 second. I'm just pulling this off here as well, just making sure I get all the bits of masking fluid off. So I just want to do a few little finishing touches now I've removed the masking fluid. So I'm going to use my sponge again, just a little bit around here, because there's a bit of a line down there and I don't really want that line. So I'm just going to fill that in with a little bit of darker paint just here and there, just yellow paint, and just sort of maybe put a touch over the tree just for a little bit of sparkle. You've got it here on these bushes here as well, the top of these bushes, and it's really nice. It's just where all the light's coming from. It's really effective. Okay, lovely. So I'm just going to use the brush to put those posts in with the Paynes grey, and they're slightly at a tilt as well, slightly tilted like that. You've got that tilt, then you've got a larger post just sort of more upright that way, and then this one sort of up there. And I'm thinking now, if I'd thought about it, I could have put a little bit of masking fluid so you've got the light as well on there, but maybe it's something for you. You can actually do that. So I'm just putting the thin line across there now. There's a nice thin line going across there. Another one. And it just sort of adds something to it, doesn't it? It just gives it a little bit of detail where you can sort of have your bit of texture through there. There's a little bit license here. You can't see it in the photograph, but I thought I might sort of show this line continuing throughout here, just to kind of give something there. And what I'm going to try to do is show a little bit of light by scraping with my card. I'm going to go back with my little sponge again and put a tiny bit of just some foliage at the bottom with the mid-green, just to hide the bottom of those posts so it doesn't sort of stand out too much. So do a little bit here as well. I'm just going to get some white paint. I'm going to just put it here so it doesn't get contaminated. In hindsight, I could have done it with masking fluid, but I just want to get that white edge there just on the top. It just will, just a little bit of light on the top of that, those bits of wire there on the gate. And I just think it's just important just to get that there. And I'm just going to put a little bit down the outside edge here, just a touch. I'm going to spatter some of that white now, just add a little bit of water to that, and just going to spatter just some here. If you don't want to use masking fluid, you could actually do what I'm doing now. So you could actually just spatter that little bit of white, or even a bit of white mixed with yellow, just here and there. Put a tiny touch there. That's it. No more painting. I'm just going to remove my framing tape now. I do love doing this because it gives me an opportunity to assess, to see if I need to do any more to the painting. I'm just putting in a little bit more light just on there, just because I've just had a little look at it and it's just the white and the yellow mixed up. So I really hope you enjoyed that extended tutorial and you can see the benefits of joining the memberships. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments section below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel where you will get updates of my latest tutorials. Thanks so much for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.